My mind often starts wandering when I'm out here in the shop working on things. And today I was thinking about craftsmanship, and I began to think about J.R.R. Tolkien, a true craftsman, and his masterpiece, The Lord of the Rings. And it occurred to me that The Lord of the Rings is a conservative story. The entire story is based on conservatism. So for any of us that enjoyed that story, at least part of us has to also be conservative. Do you remember what Sam and Fredo's motivation was for wanting to destroy the One Ring in Lord of the Rings? To save their home, the Shire. Okay, and that was the motivation for all of the characters, to save their home or Middle Earth, the good characters anyway. Okay, but for Frodo and Sam, it's the Shire, and we so desperately wanted to see them succeed. Okay, well, why do you think it is that you were able to relate to them in that situation so strongly? And you did relate to it strongly. That's what made it such a great story. We all were able to relate to that strongly. Right, well, the reason is because you're a conservative, or at least part of you. That entire story was a conservative story. To be a conservative, conservatism means to want to save, to protect, to preserve, to conserve. Okay, well, that was the entire story, to save their home, to save Middle Earth, to protect. So we all have a little bit of that in us. Now, I know most of us don't think of conservatism like that now. Conservatism today is usually portrayed as something bad in our modern popular culture, and there's all kinds of themes on that. Evil church in the Middle Ages and standing in the way of progress and science, and because of their dogmatic religious beliefs, or the overbearing, tyrannical male patriarch that's keeping the young people down, especially women, and preventing them from being all they can be and from being happy and so forth. That's how conservatism is usually portrayed, and conservatism can lead to that. Okay, there's a reason that those type stories connect with us also, which that reason is because we're also all part liberal. There's a liberal streak in us. Liberal means to want to change. Okay, so I got to thinking about that. I think ultimately, whether or not we're conservative or liberal, predominantly, we're all both. I think it comes down to how we view the world around us. Okay, do we see our homes, our families, our culture, our values, do we see that as good, or do we see that as bad? Okay, if we see it as bad, then we would naturally want to change it to make it better. Okay, so that would make us liberal. We won't change. But if we see it as good and we want to protect it, we want to preserve it, we want to save it, well, that's the conservative part of us. And I don't think it's us as individuals as to what we predominantly are, conservative or liberal. It's how we view the world around us. It's the world around us and how we think of it that determines what we are. Well, then that got me to wondering, okay, if it's our view of the world around us, our family, our homes, our culture, if how we view that determines if we're liberal or conservative, how do we know we're right in our views? I mean, seriously, that's not always an easy thing to know. In the story Lord of the Rings, the main characters, they all had issues they had to overcome. That was their character arc through the story. Okay, and then their homes, the places of men. All of those places were corrupt in some way. And then all of them also had family issues. Boromir and his younger brother Faramir, their father, the steward of Gondor. There were issues there. He was a bad person. Then you had all the problems in Rohan with their king being possessed. You had Aragorn with family issues. He didn't know where he belonged. Okay, so in the end, we're all good and bad, just like we're all liberal and conservative. How do we know our view is right and that we're not the villain? And seriously, um, I think the first thing to do is just seriously ask that question. And keep in mind, we can all be very easily manipulated. That's what great stories do. They play on our emotions. And they can play on our emotions for good or bad. So, yeah, that's something we all, I think, need to seriously put some thought into. And just the act of being able to ask the question and seriously look for answers. Am I right or wrong here? I think goes a long ways into making sure we're going in the right direction, because that takes humility. And humility is always a good trait. So for myself, I am conservative, which I guess that means I think of my environment, my home, my family, my culture, my religion, Western civilization as good. Okay, so for me, it is worth fighting for, worth protecting. Okay, I have thought about this. Am I right? Okay, I can definitely see flaws in myself and everything around me. Nothing's perfect, I'd say, except for my religion. And that's what my religion tells me, is that I am flawed, that I am not perfect. Okay, so I guess the next question would be, now what? And that's an important question these days. Right now, with so much going on culturally, as far as liberals versus conservatives. All right, this was a political issue, but for me, it's gone beyond that. This has become good versus evil. I mean, that's where I see we're at right now. Okay, and for any of you that also see that, what do we do now? Ask the question. Well, I think we do what good people have always done. We support each other. That's another thing we can see from Lord of the Rings. Oh, and by the way, J.R.R. Tolkien himself was a devout Catholic, and that entire book's full of Christian symbolism. So if you like that story, there's good chances you're also a Christian. All right, anyway, I got to get back to work now. God bless, and have a great day.